today's kind of a fun topic. We hear about it all the time. You see some of the bad work. But the idea is, we're talking Hollywood stars and plastic surgery. Who's had what? What are our thoughts? And I do want to preface it by saying, listen, we are not smack talking anybody who's had anything done. We're simply going over before and after photos, meaning we look at someone that's in their 20s, and then we look at someone in their 40s and above, and we can clearly see some differences.
Exactly.
And so,
again, by no means are we picking on anyone, but this is our way of kind of rewinding our clock back to when we were in residency, and they used to throw a picture up on the wall and say, what do you think they've had done, or what would you do? And we're going to do the same, because we do have trained eyes for this. And we think, and again, a lot of these celebrities get work done and they look better.
One of the first ones, and I absolutely love this actress.
Me too.
And her husband. I'm a real fan of the husband. But what I will say, and that's Ryan Reynolds, but Blake Lively. So, this is a beautiful woman. But listen, when we look back at some of the high school photos and things like that, there's one thing that sticks out. Okay. She's obviously had a rhinoplasty. I mean, she had a widened dorsum, which is the bridge of the nose, a little bit of a hump, a slightly wider tip. And now you look at her, and it's just a beautifully aesthetic feminine nose.
I agree.
Smooth dorsal aesthetic lines with a narrower tip, very feminine profile. And I really think that it helped accentuate, her character. And so the idea is, and I don't think there's going to be any pretense about it. I'm sure she would admit to it, or has admitted to it. But that was my first take. Blake Lively, we started off the day with. So
Yeah.
Blake, we love you,
and you look amazing.
You look amazing.
And really, interestingly enough,
kudos to the surgeon.
And it just softened her face. It didn't make her look different, like what's her name had a rhinoplasty? The girl from I'm gonna come up with this.
Jennifer Grey.
Yes, Jennifer
Grey
Grey
from Dirty Dancing. You're right.
Dirty Dancing.
And they say it was the curse, the Jennifer Grey curse, because she had a rhinoplasty and then she never really worked again. Now there could be multiple different reasons for that, but
and she also just looked very different.
Yeah, it was kind of listen. I think when people have certain work done before they become stars, it's much easier to assimilate and
Absolutely.
for us to continue to recognize that individual. It's when you decide to do something mid-throws. Barbra Streisand, if she had a rhinoplasty halfway through, you'd take a look and say, oh, it doesn't really look like her. Would it change her ability as an actress or a singer or anything like that? Absolutely not.
No, but it's very true. You see, if you do it before or after, but we're going to go into the next one, because she's done a lot of stuff after.
Yeah, listen, Jane Fonda. She's 85 years old. Looks like she's 65. And clearly just has had a face and neck lift. She's had facial rejuvenation surgery. There's a photo here of when she was in her 20s. Absolutely gorgeous. And right now, she looks very similar to that, appropriate for her age. And so the good part is the surgeon didn't change facial structure, just restored it. And so I think there are two main things that give away your age, and that's eyes and neck. Those are two main things. Everybody comes in, they talk about jowls and all kinds of things. But if you look at eyes and neck, eyes for sure, because that's what everybody looks at first. But the neck is one of those dead giveaways. And she's got rejuvenated, periorbital region all the way around her eyes. There's no puffiness underneath. You can still see a good portion of her upper eyelid. And she has a smooth jawline and neck. And so well done to the surgeon. Although she did come out afterwards and, she was disparaging of she wasn't proud of her surgery. But, I think it's really because, there's a lot of backlash when you're in the limelight and you're trying to preserve your career by maintaining youth. Because look, how many shows have we seen where you look at the actor or actress and you're like, ooh, man, they look old.
Right.
And it's really unfair because we have forever memorialized them in our favorite movie or favorite show, and you want them to stay that way forever. And so I get the pressure that's that
and I think they do too. I mean, again, they don't want to play an older woman. They want to keep doing, and they want to be the leading role. And I think Jane Fonda looks unbelievable. And it's interesting because when we first started practice, we were always like, who did her facelift? Because remember, she used to come into the office where we shared an office with someone back in the day. And she'd always had this very classic, very elegant look. Nothing ever looked overdone. So again, you know, if you're getting work done like Jane Fonda and maintaining, that's the real way to stay forever young.
Yep, definitely. All right, moving on. You know, this is a very popular pop star, Ariana Grande. And just a cute individual, I would say, overall. And if you look at the before and afters, there are some things that I can say without a doubt that she's had. All right, so listen, as a rhinoplasty guy, I can tell she's had a rhinoplasty. She used to have a slightly wider bridge. She had a little bit of a hump and a bulbous tip, a round tip. And now it's just this cute, feminine appearing aesthetic nose. And so I would say there's no doubt that she's had that done. If you look at facial development starting from your teen years all the way into adult, imagine that the skeleton still grows just a little bit, sometimes elongates ever so slightly. And so where everybody says, oh my gosh, she's had a brow lift, sometimes it can actually be due to the fact that you know, the frontal portion of the frontal bone, I should say the orbital crest of the frontal bone, can tend to extend ever so slightly during facial development as we age. But it is possible. You know, if you look at from 2008 to 2017, there is a clear difference. Now, the reason why I say that sometimes it's due to facial development over a brow lift is because when we do brow lifts, a lot of time you'll see that the arch of the brow is higher than it was before, whereas the entire brow in this photo is the same shape. It's very rare after doing a brow lift. And if someone has done this as a brow lift, God bless them. Because it didn't change the shape of the brow, it just elevated it. My thought is that she had a little bit of filler underneath the brow to give the illusion that it's elevated.
Yeah, and it just looks like, for sure she had a rhinoplasty, that's without a doubt.
Yeah.
But it just looks like she matured, you know? She just had a beautiful jawline to begin with. I think she probably had a breast augmentation too, but we won't even talk about that. Because on the last picture, it looks like her breasts are slightly bigger. Yep. But again, she looks like she matured from being a little baby into a little lady. So, and I think sometimes it's not plastic surgery. It's just, like you said, you kind of just grow into it. But the nose looks pretty good.
Yep, definitely. All right, this one's been in the news. There is no doubt he's had something done because he's chronicled his way all the way through. This is Marc Jacobs. And so New York plastic surgeon Dr. Andrew Giacono had done a full facial rejuvenation, face and neck lift. And he really popularized the deep plane facelift, even though many of us have been using that for years. But he is one of the experts in the field. And he did a deep plane, and Marc Jacobs is absolutely thrilled with the result. And so I think the goal is to, again, doing facelifts on females versus males are obviously different, but we all still try to achieve one thing. We want a smooth jawline. We want to add some facial volume, and we want to restore where the cheek has fallen back to its normal position. So we elevate that area. And so, sometimes when you perform eyelid surgery on a male and use a female pattern, that's when you run into some problems. And so that's the Kenny Rogers effect and, Mickey Rourke, things like that, where it slowly stops looking like that individual and a little more feminine. And so as a plastic surgeon, we really have to, be cognizant of that fact that we have to change and alter patterns based off of gender. And so, in this particular situation, I think overall he has a great result. For me, there was a slightly feminizing
I was going to say the exact same
appearance of the eyes. But again, I think for Marc, this works out just fine for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen his whole journey, and he's posted it all over social media. about how happy he is. And ultimately, that's really our goal. As a plastic surgeon, we just want to make the patient happy. But as another plastic surgeon that's looking at this result, my personal opinion is that, yes, I think it looks a little bit too feminine and a little too overfilled. And again, I don't know how the picture that I'm looking at, how far out, but at the same time, I don't think a man's face should have that much fullness, because it looks very different than it was. Now, you can make it a little bit tighter, but again, he's happy. So as far as I'm concerned, Giacomo did a home run.
Yep, it's a win. Here's one, that I'm almost sad to bring up, because I've loved her as an actress for the longest period of time. And in some recent series, there have been questions even by fans and things like that have commented. This is Nicole Kidman. And, she was such a beautiful female. She's always been a great actress. Recently, she's had some difficulty. It's almost as though she's having difficulty speaking. Lower lip isn't working as well. Chin seems to be on stretch. So almost as though we've got mentalis strain, which is the muscle over the chin. And so my thought process, there's no doubt, I saw her in a recent series. There is no doubt that she had a face and neck lift. There's zero doubt because there are things that because I perform facelifts, there's certain things that I look for. And there was one shot where the lighting hit it just right, and I can clearly see where she's had a face and neck lift. I'm 100% positive. And I think what they intended to do as well was add volume to the chin. So I feel like they also placed a chin implant. Now, a chin implant that might be a little too big for the musculature, for someone that we see on a regular basis, when you change certain aspects of the face, that's when it's clearly visible from to a trained eye. So my thought is either she had a chin implant or they were placing Botox into the mentalis muscle, and so that lower portion of the face did not move. That part's a little unfortunate. I know she went through the big Botox scandal where she looked almost scary, frozen and things like that. I have a feeling that, at the same time, she had a little bit of a brow lift, and it knocks out the forehead muscles, the frontalis muscles a little bit. And so, we blame it on Botox, but as she heals, then it settles a little more. So, my thought is she had full facial rejuvenation. And again, I get the pressure that you're under when you're in the spotlight. And as plastic surgeons, we just have to be really careful that we make subtle changes and not major ones.
Agreed. And she's a beauty. And I saw the same show you're talking about. And it was a little hard to wrap my mind around what happened. She looks a little, and it's not as much the look as much as it was, sometimes when you see a static picture of someone, it's not as obvious, but when you see them dynamically talking and moving their eyebrows or corner of their mouth and everything's very stiff or asymmetric, you're like, oops, what happened?
Yeah.
Or what's going wrong? Or is it really early and it hasn't settled? So on that one, I'm not a big, I have always been a big Nicole Kidman fan, and I think she didn't look like herself, and neither did she really, when she was acting, did it come off. It was kind of very like, mannequin-esque, if that's the right word to use.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you got to just take it easy and not do too much.
Yeah. Listen, this is another favorite. Oh my gosh, how many people?
We love them all.
How many people still out there haven't seen Friends? Jennifer Aniston. I mean, listen, she was the girl next door, just one of the favorites on that show. And she's now 54 years old. She admitted to a rhinoplasty to fix a deviated septum. That's what everybody says. They fix a deviated septum.
Right.
But that's about it. She's publicly admitted to. I think if you look, there is a definite transition from 1993, 2009 to 2019. You see before she had a little bit of a hump, slightly wider bridge by the nasal bones, and a slightly more bulbous tip. And now It's not a huge change, but it's enough where you can tell. She's got more defined nasal bridge, which we call dorsal aesthetic lines, and a narrower tip. And it's just a slightly more feminine appearing nose. So my thought is she underwent a closed rhinoplasty, and they just contoured ever so slightly, improved, and is just enough. It's kind of like a Halle Berry.
Right.
I know that's, again, if you look at older photos versus now, you can't attribute some of the changes of the nose to aging. Although the skin thins and you see more definition as you age, you can't change the width of the lower lateral cartilages.
Absolutely. And sometimes the tip droops, right? And if you look at her most recent picture, her nose is perfect.
Yep.
So
tip is up a little further.
Kudos to her. I think Jennifer Aniston is aging gracefully.
Yep.
Unlike her counterpart, which I won't get into, because she looked like she had a lot of work done.
Yeah.
And she was beautiful. And it's interesting because I blame the provider.
Yep.
I
Definitely.
don't blame the patient.
You're
because, if I come to you to have work done, I'm going to trust you. I picked you. I'm going to trust that you're going to put the right amount of filler in, or you're going to pull my nose up just the right amount. But if it's not like that, you can't blame the patient, because even if I ask you to put more filler in my lips, you're going to be like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes, and I think whoever's taking care of Jennifer Aniston, I think they're doing a nice job.
Yeah, well
She's aging
done.
very nicely.
Yep. Listen, it's pervasive throughout society here right now with providers. We always think that if a little bit is good, a lot is more, and that's definitely not the case. There is a margin of diminishing returns. You hit a plateau, and then it starts looking worse. And so we just, little bits here and there can go a long way. We're restoring volume that's lost, not completely changing it, especially when you're in the public eye, because it's a dead giveaway that you've had work done, and then it just defeats the purpose of trying to maintain your youth as long as you can.
Fully agreed. Oh, the next one's a loaded one.
Oh, Kim Kardashian. Listen,
We love Kim.
we love her. I'm a little disheartened at some point when she denies having a rhinoplasty, because when you look at older photos, clearly from then to now, and again, I think she's absolutely beautiful. She's just, she's maintaining very well. But, from the lip filler to the rhinoplasty, I think we can clearly tell, when you look at the waist to hip ratio, we know that there's likely a Brazilian butt lift. With some lipo to go with it, obviously, to harvest for that area. So, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, but, they have to maintain this image that they're perfect. They woke up this way. Because they do get a lot of backlash. Anytime, she wants to just walk out, no makeup, and just be her. The media, paparazzi catches a photo, and of course they definitely milk that to death. So, it's got to do wonders on the psyche of these individuals. Now, everybody can say, it's a life they chose, and that's what they get. That's why they're getting paid millions. Understood, but they're still human, and so they have to be able to deflect a lot and let it roll off their back, because otherwise it would crush them.
She keeps transforming. And listen, she's as much of a trendsetter as there is in this world right now.
Mm-hmm.
What Kim says basically the way she does her nails, if they're overly long, they'll make them shorter. If she has her eyelashes a certain way, or her brows, she is as much of a trendsetter as there is out there. And if you've seen pictures of her recently, she's as skinny as it gets, and the buttocks has gone down. So it's interesting. It's just like fashion trends with clothes, where they go baggy jeans, the tighter jeans. I think Kim looks awesome. She has had work done. It's all done very well. Again, she is in the public eye, so we will take it easy when it comes to this stuff. And listen, most people want to be like her. So as much as I want to tell you, hey, she's had this or that done, whatever's been done has been done well.
Yeah.
With the exception to some of the buttock stuff, and I think she's fixed as well. So kudos to her, and kudos for her continually transforming and looking good.
Yep. Listen, we could go on for this forever. I got one more that we just want to add, and it's a slightly different take. This is Elon Musk, billionaire Elon Musk. When you look at older photos to now, he's got a nice, healthy head of hair, but he definitely underwent a hair transplantation. There's no doubt when you look at pictures of him, from his teens and 20s. He was thinning, especially from the frontal area. So you definitely see thinning on a previous photo. And now you look at him, he's got a nice thick hairline. And so there's nothing wrong with that. To me, I think this is one of the most amazing ways to look younger, 100%. Better, more vibrant, is to add hair. I mean, that's why this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so, we have a previous podcast. You can go and check that on what you can do as far as supplementation, then the next level as far as injections, and then all the way up to follicular unit extraction hair transplantation. So it's one of those things that...
it's interesting. You said two things earlier. You said eyes and neck, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this is the third.
Yeah, well, there's definitely in males.
To really bring it up for males and females for some, but for male hair thinning or male pattern baldness, I mean, you look at anyone's picture in their 20s even, when they're bald or if they have hair, they look significantly older.
Yep.
They just don't look as good. And for a man like this, Elon Musk has had multiple hair transplants, but the beauty of it is, like we talked about before, there's no strip that's removed, there's no scar, so it's individual hairs, and it lasts. And it's a great way for men and women to really kind of turn back the clock and, feel more confident about themselves. So I think Elon Musk definitely has had a hair transplant. It looks great. It makes him look younger. I mean, he looks younger now than he was when he was 20s. So yeah.
If you like this video, you're going to love this one.
I don't trust a lot of people on social media anymore. Yeah. And a lot of influencers are getting it for free, so I know they can't talk about it. And a lot of plastic surgeons who care more about their social media following than their patients.
Yes.